about long-term comfort here. Everybody's got their room temperature that feels good to them. But you know, we're on Zoom. You can dress however you want. If you want to wear socks or, you know, something, you all know yin is kind of cooling. So even if you're, you know, if you've been running around and you feel kind of decently warm, it's kind of nice to have a blanket or something sleeve-like to put on. We just want to be comfortable. Come to a seated position. When I start, my body's still stiff. I actually like to sit on a block or something that raises the hips up a little bit. The back can relax. You know, if you need to, but sometimes it even feels good to just start on a high bolster. It's going to take a few minutes. A few nice deep breaths. Try to visualize the breath as it flows in and flows out. And that attention will begin to relax the breath, deepen the breath. And begin to clear some of the thoughts and images of the day. I'd like us to do a very simple exercise of just a gratitude, a very simple gratitude meditation. Just to think of something, maybe 5 things that pop into your head that you're grateful for in this moment. And don't overanalyze them, whatever they are. I mean, it could be something obvious that we're here, we're not in a hospital. It could also be something just very simple, that one of your plants in your garden came into bloom today. Something to hold in our mind, to acknowledge. Our gratitude for what we have. And maybe those things that popped into our heads we can come back to during the practice. When stillness comes, we can try to bring that image into our heart. It's going to be a fairly chill practice. We're going to work pretty much the whole body, several areas of the body, but holding poses without too much effort, but holding them for a good period of time. And you know the rules. If I have planned for a 3-minute hold or a 4-minute hold and it becomes too much, you just make whatever adjustments your body needs to ease out of the pose. If you lose sensation in the pose, you're just going to try to adjust the body until something comes back that feels like it's helping to release tension in the body. So we'll kind of start with the shoulders. Shoulders and neck are where we carry a lot of tension. Take your left arm and let it come behind you and see if you can grab on to the opposite arm. So you've got this little anchor of the arm to arm. And the hand can just rest comfortably on one knee. And then take the neck And bring the ear to the shoulder on that side, opposite side of the wrapped arm. And just feel that neck, side of the neck. Feel the stretch and the release. And we're actually going to be here a couple minutes, so you might adjust yourself around. Make sure it's not too much. Just let the weight of the head be the traction for opening that neck muscle on the side there. This far into the pose, you might begin to feel a little bit of easing of the tension in the neck. What I'm going to recommend is that you begin to change the angle. Look diagonally forward towards the knee, very gently. Everybody's going to be different here, but just a little tilt of the gaze, changing the angle of the neck. You'll feel the peak sensation sort of roll behind into some deeper muscles, a little more towards the back of the neck. And just experiment and see what good edges for you to breathe into. Sometimes if I really let go here, the head will just kind of on its own release into a deeper angle. The chin comes more towards the sternum, the upper chest. And we're going to go to the other side, but we're going to really do it very carefully and slowly. We're just going to let that chin keep coming forward. The head will be more straight down, chin to chest. And from here, begin to find that same kind of stretch on the other side. And we won't hold this as long. We want to change our arms for the full stretch, but just bring it up, ear to shoulder, and then let the head float up to center. And switch your arms. We'll do that same thing on the other side. Your right arm behind, grab your left bicep or something close to it. Pull the shoulder down away from the ear and let the ear come to the opposite shoulder. We're trying to start something like straight to the side. About 10 deep breaths here. You're doing absolutely nothing except giving those deep tissues, tendons, ligaments on the side of the neck time to let go. And then for me, you're welcome to just stay right where you are. For me, This is about the time I can begin to let the chin angle more forward, coming a little bit closer to the chest. And eventually it'll make this little circle to where the chin is straight down to the chest. And then I just to complete the release, I'm angling the chin and the ear open to the other shoulder. Let it float up. So John, my husband, has had some really bad neck issues this week, so we've been working on neck, and he was very bothered by the fact that he can hear it pop when you do stuff like that. So if you're hearing noises, that's just natural, very natural. Shouldn't be causing any damage. And now just let the chin angle up so we can compress the back of the neck. So the chin comes up, not pushing it back. You're kind of just exploring to how open you can get the throat. A little bit of the weight of the head into the back. Keeping the shoulders down and low, and the shoulder blades coming together supports that. Look up and just make a couple nice full circles now. We've done those releases, just a few nice big circles, ear to shoulder, chin up, ear to other shoulder. 2 or 3 circles here. Slower is better. And then change directions when you feel ready. Circle in the other direction. Oh, let the chin come up so it's just hanging onto the back of the neck. And be aware that a lot of us, I'm thinking of John, poor John, tend to, when we feel in a rested position, our chin is actually a little bit forward. That's just because of the way we work a lot. So you may want to begin to explore how it feels to be more straight. So for some of us, that almost feels like we're pushing our chin back. And yet that is a straighter alignment for the neck. Whenever you sit, if you have that tendency, just think about pulling the chin in and imagining a wall behind you where the neck stays quite long and the chin is straight in front of the sternum, on top of the sternum, I should say. And then just do some shoulder rolls to relax out of this. Nice big ones, so the shoulders come all the way up to the ears and back, shoulder blades together as far as they can go, forward as far as they can go, up and back. Big old circles. Four or five in one direction and just change it around. And this was one of those funny moments working with my husband where he said, no, make circles. And he said, I am making circles. So your circles might not be very big. but that action of drawing them as big as you can is giving you good release there. Okay, so we're gonna come into a version of puppy pose anahata to begin to get into the back part of the upper back and opening the chest and the shoulders. And I've got my chair here. I know not everybody has a chair, but let me show it to you this way. This may be more comfortable for some of you. Basically, no matter what version of puppy we're doing, we're trying to let the chest fall between the shoulders. So a chair works, or you may want to kind of stack your blankets or bolster. The reason I'm saying this is this can be a very strong pose to be held for a couple of minutes. So you don't want to be so low that there's any pain or discomfort in the shoulders. Some of you are very used to doing this pose. You can actually just stay on the knees, let the arms come straight, or soften the elbows, and just see if you can find your best place to unravel those shoulders a bit. I'm going to use a block for my forehead because mine feels very stiff today. We're going to try to hold it for a couple minutes. So I know it's hard to anticipate how deep to go for a couple minutes. So feel free to adjust and ease up a little bit if you got yourself someplace it's a little too intense. If you are all the way through those arms, the forehead may come to the floor or block. And as the shoulders release, you may actually be able to put your chin to the floor, and your own body will tell you what's a good depth to hold this. You've already been in the pose for about a minute. See if you can be there another minute. Just having that image of unraveling those knots. You haven't done anything wrong to get those knots. You've just been living your life, doing what you need to do, holding positions for longer than that, most of us. So it takes time to let those knots come loose. Another 15 seconds. Ease out or deepen. Begin to let go wherever you are, just ease out. For some of us, that's going to be just softening the elbows, letting the hips come down, and just let the body roll up like a rag doll into some version of a hero's pose, where you're sitting on your heels. I can't remember Leslie, I'm thinking of you. I don't know if anybody's got a knee issue. One modification to heroes is just to put something underneath so the angle of the knee is a little softer. And where we're going from here is into our toe stretch. So curl the toes under and begin to find what degree of body weight you can put on those heels. To stimulate that bottom of the foot and toes. Can everybody see me? So there's another thing you can do with a chair to sit up a little higher, or just some of you will be able to put full body weight. Some of you will be able to actually lean back for a little bit more stretch on the toes. I like to hold this for about a minute. If you look in the book, a yin book on toe stretch, they'll say hold it for 3 minutes. I've never been able to hold it for 3 minutes. A good minute, I usually begin to feel a good release. On that, and we'll do the ankle stretch version of this foot work, which is back to flat feet on the floor. You can get there, and it's the same process of finding how open you can get the top of your feet, either little by little or taking it and actually leaning back. So you can open the ankles, open the front of the feet. For at least several good deep breaths. Yourself a couple breaths to come out. Well, let's just sit off to the side with our legs straight forward or knees bent. We just want to move the feet a little bit, bring some energy back in there. And we're going to come to a dangle, which we do fairly often in yin. It's just a forward bend, yin style, which means we're not trying to straighten our legs into a yang style forward bend. We're actually staying quite soft in the knees, letting the torso try to be supported by that. So the hands can be on the floor, or again, as long as it feels good to work high up on a chair, so you're not having to go very deep. You can just let that lower back release in this dangle. Let the head hang. You can hold on to your elbows. We're going to be here for a little over a minute. Not everyone can tolerate, if you feel it all unsteady, especially if you have any kind of low blood pressure, the chair is also helpful here because you can get the same kind of back release on a chair, sitting on the edge of a chair and just hanging forward. So I wanted to offer that. Not everybody's super comfortable in a long held forward bend. So wherever you are, I wish I could be there and see you all. Begin to just roll up out of this very slowly. This is one you really don't want to hurry yourself out of. Just send energy down your legs. Let that spine stack over the hips. Head's going to come up last. It actually builds a lot of body awareness to see what happens to bring the body erect and aligned in a comfortable way. So most of us have to make little adjustments. That chin is one. If you're used to standing a little bit chin forward, take a minute, push that chin back, let the shoulders release. If you have a tendency to hold your shoulders, let them release. The hands might feel kind of heavier, kind of lifting down. And we're not tucking deeply into the buttocks or anything. We want that natural curve of the spine. So we know from an alignment perspective that we could stand here without contracting muscle. This is the way we're meant to stand. For a lot of us, for me especially, I have a natural sway in my back. I can't get totally straight. I want to soften my knees to be totally comfortable. A little micro bend. Let go of the buttocks muscles and just see if you can find that comfortable alignment. Very aware of where you might be off kilter or out of balance. And from here, we're just going to bring a little bit of energy into our body with a simple side-to-side twist. So really, we're trying not to use muscle. We're just letting the arms hang loose, letting them swing side to side. This is like soft. You just feel like a little kid doing this. The arms may even contact with the body. This is something we do in Qigong. This action of letting the body naturally twist side to side. The arms contacting the body actually brings good energy and release. Let's do it a few times. We're going to kind of gradually settle. And we'll come back to the floor. So we work neck and shoulder and feet. And we'll kind of come to hip now. I'm going to come into a V, a dragonfly. And that's the one where I usually sit a little bit behind my mat. You might turn sideways on the mat, only because it's nice to have a little bit of cushion for the feet in a little V stretch. Oh, hi, Andrea. So take your time. A little cushion under the buttocks, maybe even a little raise under the buttocks. What we're looking for here is that alignment principle again. We don't want to be having to hold our back up or a lot of strain in our back. So some people are going to feel more comfortable working a little bend in the knees or a little raised hips, but that's where we're headed. We're actually going to use this shape to open the side ribs and to start working the hips. So a lot of different positions. I'm going to demonstrate a bolster or a pillow or a chair to just put that right arm inside the right leg, for example, until this side rib is nice and curved. And what happens with the arm, this isn't a leg stretch, so a lot of times we take this into a a long, long stretch with our arm. Here, we want to keep it more about the spine and the ribs and keeping that opposite hip grounded down. So you might look like up on your elbow is a good stretch to hold for several minutes. But you might be a little lower. And the arm can kind of be anywhere that supports that opening. Some people really like the feel of letting the hand actually be behind the head to get a little bit more stretch into the armpit and the upper arm. But you're gonna take your time to find that. My job is just to time this and be quiet while you find a good side bend stretch. Everybody looks fantastic. Yeah. So you did like that arm behind the head. I find that pretty darn strong. If it gets too much, just let that arm come more forward about a minute or so into this. But if you can do it, good on you. I always like to feel the breath in that side, that open side rib. So inhale, you'll feel the ribs separating, opening little by little. Even if it's just a mental image, it's real good, Josh. And don't be afraid to change that top arm position if it gets to be too much. You've got about another 30 seconds for the planned time. And remember, it's not trying to be a leg stretch. So I see some of you, feel free to move your legs a little closer, something that supports that side stretch a little more. That's a good 2-minute stretch. So the counter pose out of this will be more of a traditional leg stretch. Let that side rib that's open release. So now your torso's over that leg. And just do a release stretch over that leg for a few nice breaths. Yes. And then we're using that little ragdoll roll up tonight. So use your hands to support the back, so you don't have to contract muscle. Just let the back roll up. And prepare to find that same kind of stretch on the other side. First, that little side bend C stretch. So if you need to move your bolster, see if you can find opening in that other side rib, and then see if the arm can increase it by coming behind the head or just in front somehow. Hold this for 2 minutes, so whatever can sort of support that. I think all of you were able to get your arm high, which is strong. Maybe you can do it on one side, not the other. That's totally natural to be a little different on these two sides. Like I say, I have a feeling you can get more. See, try bending that left elbow a little bit. Yeah, yeah, look at you. 4 more inches there. Yeah, we're so used to thinking of this shape as a leg stretch, but here it's not. It's really about stimulating the hip and the whole side rib. Find a good exhale to just release that deep opener. Let the body arrange itself so that you're now over the leg, sternum to knee. It's just a counter pose, so you don't have to stretch too much. Just release the back, kind of neutralize that lower back a little bit. Let the head sort of aim towards the knee for a few breaths. And then help yourself up with your hands, nice and slowly. I take like 4 or 5 breaths to completely come out of it. And a lot of times we do a forward bend in this pose, but tonight I'd like us to play around with actually leaning back here. So legs may come in or out in this position. Like for me, I really feel quite a bit of sensation in the outer hip when I lean back. But it's actually good for the hips. So see if you can lean back, press the arms into the floor and lift the chest. We won't hold this for a long time, but you may feel some fairly deep sensations in those hips. Feel comfortable enough to drop back. You can just continue to look forward. Walk yourself out of it. And for the forward bend version, I think we'll do a butterfly. So use your hands, help yourself to come in, feet together. That little diamond shape. And again, not so much about the legs right now, more about the spine and the hips. Just gonna let the body come over those legs. The forehead might feel like it's aiming towards the insteps or the heels. And just let that back totally release and curve over those legs. And if you're feeling it more in the hip because of tightness there, you can always use a blanket or a block to even support those knees, letting it be more of a back release. We'll do another pose to really work the hips. So here we just want that back. Let go. And hold it for a couple minutes. Maybe at the end we can pull ourselves down, but try to resist the urge to come really low. Don't be competitive with yourself at all. Just let gravity kind of find that natural degree of forward bend here. It's almost like the less you do, the less you intend to do, the more release we're getting in the joint and the deep tissues of the body. And go ahead and give yourself 2 or 3 breaths. Maybe sink another 1/4 inch. And then begin to release out of it. And just for fun, you can often use the muscle yang version of a pose as a counter pose. So you might come into a cobbler. So a cobbler feels quite different. The heels are trying to come close to the groin. We're actually using isometric pressure of the feet pressing together to open the hips. So it's active. We're actively opening the hips. So we won't hold this very long because this is a very muscle version. Or grabbing the feet and using the elbows to open the hips can feel like a counter pose after that deep, passively held stretch. Good job. So come on out of it and do whatever feels good to kind of rebound. Often with those hip openers, it feels good to windshield the legs so we get a little internal rotation of the hip. It was just strongly outwardly rotated. And we're going to make our way to the belly. Now, we're going into a belly down twist, but it's meant to be very restorative. So we don't want to work too hard here. This pose is often called mermaid, and I'll show it with a bolster, but you'll be able to see you don't have to have a bolster. What we do is we want the whole front body lying on this bolster. And I usually start with my knees bent to bent. We call this 90-90. So one foot's against a knee, just so that I can twist around to be straight on to the floor, the bolster. And some of you will be able to actually twist past center. So if you're coming from the left knee forward, you're actually going to be able to twist around to the left. You're going to try to find some way that you feel very comfortable to just let go in that face down twist. That's it. Good job. So you can see the higher you are, the less effort in the hips. You can kind of cradle the forearms together to make a little pillow. This should be comfortable enough to hold for, I'm going to plan this for about a 3-minute hold. A little over 3 minutes since we've already been here. So take your time. And the neck, depending on how healthy it feels, can actually twist to one side like we do that little pillow hand after our Sphinx. You get a little passive stretch of the neck here, or you can keep it more aligned straight if you've got plenty of sensation going on just with the hips and the back. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Maybe one of those little things to be grateful for will pop into your mind. And just hold on to that good thought. About 15 more seconds, so judge how you're doing. Be ready to come out or just enjoy a few more breaths. And begin to release the effort of the twist. You'll just use your arms to help you up, and you have a choice. You can just turn around your back. Some of you will be, to me, that's fine. You know where you're headed, or you can flip the bolster or what you're using onto the other side. So you get that same mermaid opposite side. Whichever feels the least effort is what I choose to do. And sometimes based on the angle of your room, you'll be kind of forced to move the bolster or move the body. How's your neck? Maybe halfway in, you could give yourself a little passive neck rotation. Yeah. few more seconds. So we'll kind of begin to think about coming out of it in super slow motion. Some of you look like you could just stay here for a while. I'll take to have you move. And just release the body in a way that feels good for a moment. I'm gonna show you the final restorative before Shavasana, the final pose. This happens to be a personal favorite of mine. Like I say, we haven't done it a lot because it's easier to do with a bolster, but we'll talk through what will happen without a bolster. Make this little chaise lounge. This will kind of work, or something that's a little stiffer. And what you do is put your buttocks up to it and literally just let your back release on that bolster. For a lot of us, this is a little bit of a back bend, depending on how much bolster we have underneath. But here's where we're headed. We're headed into this total reclined release. Now, if you don't have something to angle up like that, you can get pretty darn comfortable with, kind of blanket bolster. Same idea. Letting the back release. And sometimes you can make this little pillow with the top of the blanket so that you do get a little bit of an incline. See what I'm doing? I'm letting the top of the blanket be a little roll so that my whole back spine is supported and my head and chin aren't having to be held up at all. So that's the goal, is to find something that's a recline like that. Whole back supported on the floor. Now, if you don't have anything that feels comfortable, you can get pretty comfortable just on the floor itself, maybe bending the knees into a soft butterfly or a teepee, whatever releases that back. You see Tanya found her blankie. She's so smart. This is mostly about the spine and supporting a nice deep breath all the way into the upper lung, and a little bit of compression of the lower back. So you have to decide whether you can support the knee out position that I demonstrated, or you might want to just more straighten the legs and just make it a sort of supported Shavasana. What's important here is that the spine is released and the chest is lifted and the breath is really free. Craig, you might want to straighten your arms down to your side. What you're doing is probably going to be really good as a shoulder opener. Yeah, but I want it to be more restorative. Nothing's really working here. Everything's just releasing. And midway through, any of you okay, enough hip work, I'm going to straighten out my legs, let them just open up, more like a Shavasana. I sometimes end my practice in this pose. I find it completely, wonderfully restorative for my body. But if you do feel tension in the spine with that bolster underneath, or you've got blankets underneath, feel free to take the last few minutes in full Shavasana, Just pull those blankets out from underneath and let the back be totally flat. In a traditional shavasana, whatever feels best. A couple of you have your knee somewhat bent. That will help release any tension in the lower back. Wish I was there, I would run and bring a little blanket from underneath those knees. Just a couple of minutes of doing absolutely nothing, being grateful for this moment of relaxation. Because we're in our own homes, I think it's perfectly wonderful to just lie here as long as you want to. We are coming to the end of our time. So if you want to roll to one side and sit up, otherwise we'll just quietly thank you all for coming. It is really a joy to me to get to work with you each week. Namaste.